a BCom graduate, but doing a cloud architecture career. This is an unimaginable story. And then he is visiting from UK to India. During his family time, we asked him some more time so that he can share his valuable insights about, how has his career journey been, and how did he pass through his life, and what are the career opportunities that are available in the, in the current era that we are. And over to you, Prashant. Thank you so much for taking out time and being out here.
Thank you, Arif. Thanks everyone for giving me an opportunity. So without any delay further, let me share my screen and let me start off. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah,
yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but are you sharing your video as well?
You want to see my video as well? That's not a problem. Yeah.
Not a problem if you do not want to. Yeah.
No, that's fine.
That's here. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sure you are seeing the presentation deck, I suppose.
Yep.
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right. So the topic for today's presentation is navigating careers in cloud architecture. It's a broad term. What I've used, cloud architecture actually encompasses quite a few things. So wanted to keep it a broad one instead of a narrow focused. So before I go into the what's a cloud architecture and what it entails, a brief profile of myself. From an academic qualification standpoint, I have completed my bachelor's in commerce. Then I've done my MBA from IFM in Bangalore. Then along with my professional journey, I have completed quite a few certifications across the IT architecture. I have developer certifications and plus IT administration certifications. These are all certifications which are industry relevant, industry standard, vendor specific certifications.
Sure. Prashant, quick one. Would it be possible to make it a little broader or a slideshow kind of a thing?
Is it okay? This one?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I have started my career as a sales executive for a Oracle-based vendor. It's an Oracle services company in Hyderabad. And from there, I moved on to a pre-sales solutions consultant role. Essentially, a pre-sales solution consultant role involves responding to customers' queries, questions, RFPs, RFIs, which is a request for proposals, request for quotations, request for information, and customer actually publishes a document like that. We respond. That was my role. So I started with sales and I moved on to the pre-sales, which becomes a very technical role. Okay. Later on in my career, I progressed to a career of solution architect. Now, solution architect, if you're already aware of it, if you're coming from IT industry, you'll probably be aware. A pre-sales solution consultant to solution architect, there's a very thin line of difference. Both of them are responsible for giving a solution to either a customer or to the business. And I was fortunate to be a solution consultant and solution architect. And then I worked for Oracle India for about 7 years, primarily in their middleware integration business, selling the technologies like SOA architecture and API gateways and application services, stuff like that, to enterprise and public sector customers in a pan-India basis. Then one of my bosses moved on to Microsoft later point of time, and I got an opportunity to work within the Microsoft ecosystem. The reason why I just put that word got lucky is usually from Oracle to Microsoft or Microsoft to Oracle doesn't happen. They're very, how do I put it? They're very focused businesses in the sense that they got their own set of customers. They don't poach their customers, so to speak. So I was able to work in Microsoft ecosystem as well for about a few years. And as it happened, given that Oracle is a very, very enterprise specific technology, only the big customers and big public sector customers actually use something like that. I was exposed to quite a lot of technological complexities, complex systems. Plus, I also was able to work on the fairly large customers in terms of application landscape and the IT landscape. So given that background, what I had, I was able to move on to land a role with a Salesforce based consultancy, and that's where I began my cloud architecture background journey. And as a part of the cloud journey, I have executed quite a few major projects. And these are the two main highlights. I would say that one of the biggest highlights in my cloud journey was I migrated an enterprise grade on-premise CRM to Salesforce. And this was almost a 24-month migration project, which I was involved with for one of the largest foreign exchange trading firms based out of London in the world. So that was one major project. And the second one is I have migrated Remedy 8.1. Remedy is from a company called BMC. They're the leaders in ITSM space. I have migrated Remedy 8.1 to SaaS-based Helix. This is for one of the world's largest telecom vendors, telecom providers. And it was an extremely complex project in the sense that Remedy 8.1 was almost a 15-year-old legacy application, which we had to move straight to the cloud. We did not even upgrade or update the application, straight to legacy application to the cloud. That was another complex project. And as part of this project, I also migrated the underlying reporting database of Remedy 8.1 to Google BigQuery. That's where the second part of the project was. So one single on-premise application, but two different clouds where eventually the application resided. Apart from this, I've completed quite a few greenfield projects in Salesforce. And in my current role, I'm working as a cloud solution architect with Tech Mahindra. I'm based in London, and I predominantly look after the telecom as a vertical. That's my primary vertical, where I work with a lot of telecom clients. This is my brief profile. And moving on to the main presentation. So let me give you a little background. When we say cloud architecture is nothing but it has evolved from cloud computing. Cloud computing is a pretty old term. Back in 1960s and 1950s, that's when this term came. Different definitions for cloud computing, depending on whom you ask. You ask what's cloud computing to IBM, they'll give you one answer. If you give it to, pose the same question to Oracle, they'll get a different answer. But in general, the most generic and most agreed upon definition is cloud computing is based on-demand availability of hardware and software resources without user intervention. So what it means is, I, as an individual user or a business, I don't have to do anything on my own, any specific action in order to get either a hardware or software. That's what a cloud computing would mean. So I don't have to order software, I don't have to order hardware, or I don't have to configure hardware. I don't have to install software. I don't have to do virus updates. I don't have to do any of that. None of it is required from my end, and everything is available, ready to be consumed, ready to be deployed, ready to be used by the business. So that's cloud computing. And same thing applies. In today's world, the basic concept definition of cloud architecture is more or less same as cloud computing. Cloud architecture, cloud computing are interchangeable and they can be used across the board. So that would be the basic definition. And one thing which I would like to point out is while you have any questions, I would say that park your questions, note them, and we would have a separate session towards the end of this presentation. So this would be much more useful because whatever questions you might have, eventually I may or may not be able to cover them during the progress of this particular presentation. Okay. So with this, I'll move on to the next slide, which is the cloud services models. There are predominantly three different service models. One is called infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and the software as a service. These are the three models what we have. And we also have other models like mobile backend as a service, function as a service, also called as serverless computing. But for the sake of today's presentation, I would only be covering the first three, which is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. These are the three ones which I would be covering. The mobile and function I will not be covering unless you have very specific questions around it. More than happy to answer, but these are the ones which I will be covering. Okay. Moving on, infrastructure as a service. Essentially, IT infrastructure includes components such as storage, compute, networking, antivirus, IT security, to name a few. And when these components, IT infrastructure components, are made available through either a management console or an interface through which a user can create his own IT infrastructure, then we are referring to something called infrastructure as a service. So what it is imagine you are looking at something like your Gmail or Yahoo email client. The functions what are available right from your file, edit, insert, etc., all those menus. Using those similar kind of menus, if I'm able to create my infrastructure, I'm able to create my compute, I'm able to create my storage, I can able to deploy the antivirus and all that. That is when the IT infrastructure as a service is truly offered, and that is something which is currently being offered by quite a few vendors. But for our discussion towards the end, we will restrict to only about 5 vendors. We will restrict, but there are more than 120 different cloud computing companies or cloud infrastructure companies who are currently providing this. And this space is constantly evolving. A lot of innovation, a lot of R&D, a lot of investments are happening. There are newer concepts which are coming in as we speak. Stuff like SIEM monitoring, containerization, then the much more specialized machine learning, artificial intelligence. All of them are provided, already available, are maturing, and we are making a journey from there. So this is a pretty hot space at the moment. And I would say that the 3 predominant examples for IT infrastructure as a service: AWS, that is Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. These are the 3 major vendors, predominant vendors, and all the benchmarking or the best practices or all the use cases for IT infrastructure as a service comes from these 3 vendors, these 3 suppliers. And they also cover maximum number of jobs available in the market for the infrastructure as a service. So with this was a brief high-level overview of what I could probably talk about the infrastructure as a service, right? And moving on, any questions on this, please make a note and keep it ready. We will discuss on the infrastructure as a service towards the end. Moving on, platform as a service. Again, platform as a service is again constantly evolving. Just to make it a little more easier, just like IT infrastructure, like computer storage being made available as a service, when a programming language or a database or an integration tool or any of those technologies which are used for application development are made available to a user without user bothering about how to maintain them, then it is called as platform as a service. Different vendors have different definitions of a platform as a service. This is not uniform. This is not standard. Platform as a service pretty much differs from vendor to vendor. There is a commonality between, like for example, database, programming language, integration engine. These 3 or 4 components could be common across. Everybody talks them as a platform as a service. But the moment you start looking into some more specialized offerings, such as containerization, or when you start looking at the integration engines like API management, different vendors talk differently. But yes, platform as a service will be mostly common. Think of programming languages like .NET being available or Python being available. Their libraries are being made available to user who could use them to develop your application. Without you have to actually install different versions of it, different images of the OS, operating systems or anything, then it becomes a platform as a service. Again, platform as a service, Amazon, Microsoft Azure, and Google. These are the 3 predominant vendors when it comes to platform as a service. We also have specialized vendors like Oracle, for example, where they provide the database as a service, which is an industry leader. So you will see platform as a service is little more wider than infrastructure as a service. There are quite a few more vendors who play in this area because of the specialized service offerings they have. So not really that platform as a service is restricted to 3 or 4 vendors. It's a pretty wide. Another example I can give you is the Tableau, which is part of the Salesforce. They provide the cloud-based reporting services, reporting engine. So that's a very specialized service what they provide. So platform as a service is a hotbed for startups. Lot of opportunities in this space, but again, be mindful that platform as a service predominantly is something related to developer market. You need to be a developer or at least related to a developer role to leverage any kind of opportunities coming in this space. So that's platform as a service in nutshell. Please make note your questions. We will talk about them towards the end. The third category, which is relatively easy category to understand, is software as a service. So the Gmail, what we use, is a best example for software as a service. As a user, I don't bother whether my email is working properly or not, what storage it has, or what scalability, how many users, blah, blah. I don't have to worry any of that. Probably the only thing which I need to worry after a point of time is how much storage is there. Do I have to buy additional storage or not? That would be the case for Gmail. So similarly, like Gmail, software as a service covers a lot of areas, predominantly in the enterprise software. Salesforce is the best example where they provide CRM. Salesforce CRM is offered as a software as a service to multiple customers, multiple clients. They call it as multi-tenant architecture. So multi-tenant is one of the bases for any cloud vendor, or whether it is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or the software as a service. Multi-tenant is a core principle in the cloud. Salesforce is a best known example for software as a service. There are quite a few others like Workday, Oracle, SAP. There are even Microsoft for an extent also offers software as a service products like SharePoint, for example, Microsoft Teams. Their predominant offering in that space. These are all software as a service examples. So that covers the 3 different types of models within the cloud. First model is infrastructure as a service. Second one is platform as a service. And last one is software as a service. Now, having said that, these are the service models. How you can deploy any one of these service models is a different approach or a paradigm which you need to look at. So before I go there, as I said, some of the cloud architecture examples are Microsoft Office, Google Apps, Gmail, Facebook. Yeah, all of them are cloud architecture examples. So deployment models. So any of the infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service can be deployed in one of the 3 ways. Either it can be offered as a private cloud. I have done private cloud recently. My latest example, I can talk about it. Public cloud. So AWS, Azure, and Google, all 3 of them are public clouds. They don't offer anything in private or any other model. They're public cloud. So you have to publicly access them over the internet and set up your systems there. So this is the most popular model and also the most cheapest option for any business. It's a very cost-effective model where you can do autoscaling. So that's the public cloud. The combination of private and public cloud is called hybrid. Some parts of your infrastructure can be private. Some parts of your platform could be on public. Some components of your software can be either private or public. It could be depending on the use case and how you want to use it. You can use one of the 3 models which is available. Mind you, when for this purpose, for this particular discussion, for this particular presentation, we are only focused on the public cloud. I can still take the questions on the private and hybrid cloud, but predominantly our focus will be the public cloud for today's discussion. For the completeness, for your awareness, I'm just talking about what a private cloud means and what hybrid cloud means. I could actually talk about it towards the end, but these are the deployment models for your knowledge. Okay, so now that I've completed the deployment models, what are the opportunities and roles? There are quite a few different opportunities which are available, different roles which are available within the cloud. But from a career standpoint, from the today's discussion standpoint, I'll focus only on three different areas. One is a developer, one is operations, and one is a data engineer. These are the three roles which I would want to talk about. There are some specialized roles as well, which I will be talking very, very briefly, but for our discussion, let's restrict ourselves to these three ones. And I can answer any other questions outside these three roles as well. Okay. The first one is developer. I also included something called DevOps. People who are from IT industry probably are aware of it. If you are not, DevOps stand for development operations. So this is, I'll talk about this later, but talking about developer, as the title suggests, right? We're talking about predominantly a developer role. Now, some of the jobs or some of the expected job roles is like you're expected to deploy, manage, and secure software applications, that is the code on the cloud. So how you deploy it, how you develop it, and how you secure it, and how does the management related to that code works is what a developer role will be. And some of the skills are quite commoditized, commonly available skill sets: Java, .NET, Python. These are the three main high-level programming languages available on any of the clouds. So whether you choose AWS, Azure, or GCP, all three of them would be available in some form or shape. And apart from that, you have choice of languages. I mean, somebody like AWS can offer a much broader range of programming languages, depending on the use case and what you would like to use. And this is from the high-level programming. From a database standpoint, you have Oracle, Microsoft SQL, Postgres, which is an open source. You also have much more specialized databases like MariaDB. Then you have, MongoDB, etc., etc. So you have quite a few other specialized databases. Integration engines like your Jitterbit, like your SOA access gateways, API gateways, IBM Data Power, all these integration engines, plus your API deployment, management skills. This is something which every developer is expected to know, especially when you're developing an enterprise-grade application or you're maintaining an enterprise-grade application. Good to have will be this continuous integration and continuous delivery, also known as CI/CD. This is the foundation for DevOps. So anything where you automate your development operations in this particular model, CI/CD. Good to have. Right now, it is in demand. Almost every developer, senior developer, not necessarily the junior one, but mid to senior developers are expected to have CI/CD skills with them. I work with developers on day in, day out basis, on an everyday basis. I've got a dedicated team of cloud developers with whom I work. And I can tell you, based on my personal experience, it's an extremely intense role. It's not easy. It's quite a few challenges on a daily basis, very complex problems presented by the customer, which needs to be resolved. So problem-solving skills is must. And this means that when you're trying to solve a problem, very good communication skills and people management skills are needed. As the popular, stereotyping happens, programmers are geeks who sit in front of their laptops, desktops, and, do the coding and then do the deployment. That doesn't happen in reality. It is not a real world. Developer is expected to have good communication. He should be able to communicate how he's going to solve any particular, technological problem or a data problem. And he should be able to do the people management. For example, there will always be agreements to disagree, disagreements to agree. All of them will be happening. So people management becomes extremely important. So developer is an intense role. Also, they're most lucrative. This role is also most lucrative among all the cloud jobs which are available over the long run. So developer is something which is right now extremely in-demand role across any cloud, be it Amazon, be it Azure, or be it Google, right? So that's developer role for you. Second one is operations. In an old world, we used to call it as a systems administrator, somebody who manages the system, somebody who knows which system works how, right? Does it what it is? In the current cloud world, the main skills would be deep understanding of management console. Now, cloud companies, the management consoles, what they provide can be very comprehensive and very, very intuitive sometimes, or sometimes it is not an intuitive one, depending on what angle you are looking at. So one of the important skills is ability to understand the management console and how to use them to manage the applications. One of the most important and key skill for any systems administrator is ability to understand billing management, because every cloud is pay as you go. You pay for what you are using. One of the first things anybody would need to understand is how does this billing actually happen? So for example, today I have 100 MB of storage. I need to increase it to 200 MB of storage. The first, that particular kind of question doesn't go to the developer, but it goes to an administrator. So business will actually ask, okay, I'm going to onboard 100 new users and I would need 100 MB. How much do you think it is going to cost? So administrators should be able to answer those questions. And also the architecture, in the sense that because every cloud operates on multi-tenant architecture or multiple tenants using a similar infrastructure, right? You can't get everything and everything of one particular service dedicated to one single user. Say, for example, I want to use Oracle database. The Google, which provides the Oracle database, that Oracle database is also used by 10 other customers. So what is it I've been offered by Google in terms of that particular Oracle database? What limitations does it have? What advantages do I have? That is something which a systems administrator should know. And whenever any new application is being designed or being deployed, administrator approval is necessary. It's mandatory. Without his approval, nothing gets deployed in the cloud. So systems administrator has a very, very important role. He's one of the technical approvers, technology approvers. He also approves the solution design. He also approves the architecture design. So almost everything which is required before an application goes live on a cloud, systems administrator approvals are required. One of the important skills is architect level knowledge of best practices. So whether I should deploy an application in a specific manner or not, an administrator should know almost at an architect level. So what it means is architects are not available on a daily basis, right? Architects do not actually come into the daily operations. They are part of when the solution is getting designed or an application is getting designed. So when an architect resource is not available, whom does business look at? They look at systems administrator to answer those questions. So architect level knowledge is required by the systems administrator. Partial or full administration of applications and database is usually owned by this team. So systems administrator is not a single operator. Usually is part of the team. It is called operations team, or it's called a BAU team, depending on which company and what branding they use. BAU stands for business as usual. So it is a daily operations. So that particular team normally owns either fully or partially the applications and database along with the third-party suppliers or whatever. So usually that is the operations. This is a second and very important role in terms of career opportunities available in the market. And make note of all the questions, please. On this one, I will answer in the end. The third one, which I would like to cover, is data engineer. The data engineer is one of the hot roles right now. It is a very, very in-demand role, one of the fastest growing professions within the cloud. A lot of utility, a lot of use case, lots of consequential development activities related with the data engineer. I mean, I cannot stress any more than this, that data engineer is the hottest role right now. More hotter than the developer, more hotter than the operations. Data engineers are extremely in demand right now, and especially somebody who understands multiple clouds. So, for example, a data engineer who also understands the Amazon product offerings versus Google's product offerings versus Microsoft product offerings. If somebody can understand that multiple product offerings, then it's even more hotter. The key skills for a data engineer today is ETL, which is extract, transform, and load. Quite a few tools available in ETL space. Informatica is one thing which comes to my mind. Then you also have Ab initio is another tool which comes to my mind. So ETL is a crucial tool, skill set which needed. BI stands for business intelligence and reporting. A lot of BI tools, Tableau from Salesforce, Power BI from Microsoft, MicroStrategy, quite a few other tools which are there. BI reporting, analytics, SAS, again, Informatica, then Power BI, then again, Salesforce, quite a few analytics tools, cloud reporting tools. Apart from these tools from specific vendors, conceptually, data engineer is also expected to understand DW, which is data warehousing and data lakes. DW and data lakes, these are the important concepts. Every other company, including Google, Amazon, Microsoft, they got specific product offerings or service offerings around data warehouse and around the data lakes. So if a data engineer understands those concepts, and especially the real-time implementation of any of these projects, if they have done, it becomes all the more important that data engineers are in demand. So DWDL, these are the some of the important concepts and projects what are expected as a key skill set of a data engineer. So I have covered three main roles, which is developer, operations, and data engineer. There are other specialized roles as well. Some of them which comes to my mind are functional industry SME. This is an emerging role. Basically started around 2-3 years back by Salesforce. Salesforce launched a completely new product offering called Industry Cloud. Once they launched the Industry Cloud, I think almost everybody now has Industry Cloud. SAP has an Industry Cloud, Oracle has an Industry Cloud, IBM has an Industry Cloud. So these industry clouds are specific to specific industries like telecom, banking, insurance, manufacturing, healthcare, and government. I think these are some of the industries which I could think of. And these industries have certain way of operating. For example, in the telecom industry, the industry where I'm currently working, they've got a broad concept of OSS and BSS, operational support systems and business support systems. Those are the jargons or the terminologies used in the telecom. So industry clouds will probably have those terms incorporated already when they offer specific industry cloud. In banking, for example, KYC, know your customer, money laundering, then fraud and compliance. Those are the terms which they use. So functional industry SME roles as a very specialized role, a very suitable role for somebody who is coming from the business side, a non-IT person coming from a business side. For example, he has been a senior manager banking or senior operations manager in an operations or a senior manager in healthcare, hospitals. Usually the business side functionaries, it is very suitable for them than a fresher, than somebody who's coming from the IT side. There are quite a few opportunities which are currently available, but again, these are the specialized roles. And usually, to my knowledge, these kind of roles are usually filled based on the references. Very few of these opportunities are actually advertised openly on the job sites. You need to be active on sites like LinkedIn to know who is recruiting these kind of roles, that is functional and industry SMEs. LinkedIn referencing in the industry forums, industry workshops, predominantly those are the avenues where functional industry SMEs are spoken about, or those opportunities you will find them. Second one is migration architect. Migration architects is a very specific role. where they see that somebody who has worked both on-premise and cloud, who can help in migrating an on-premise application to the cloud. Very specialized role. You will see a lot of those advertisements being posted on the job sites. Monitoring and compliance. This was not earlier a hot area, but now it is, because of the industry compliances, right? Like, SOX compliance and etc. The industry cloud started offering, the cloud vendors started offering these products. Some of the products are Splunk, which is an independent tool, but can be deployed on the clouds, I suppose. So monitoring and compliance is another one. IT security, cyber security is another specialized role. This is related to something called SOC, Security Operations Center, Network Operations Center. Those are the areas where these particular roles are predominantly used. So yeah, these are the specialized roles. There are quite a few others, but it could be very exhaustive number of roles which we are talking about. But for this purpose of discussion, I think I'll restrict only to these. Make a note of if you have any questions on specialized roles, I can talk about it during the Q&A. So before I go, quiz time, and this is a question for everyone. Can any one of you name an Indian PaaS vendor, platform as a service vendor, who is also a global leader in their product offering? There are so many clouds, right? All the cloud vendors we talk about are either American or European vendors. Do you think of any Indian vendor who is also a global leader in platform as a service? How about this? I'll change this to SaaS. Can you name one Indian SaaS vendor who is also a global leader in their product offering or service offering? There are outright leaders. They're not just among the leaders. They're leaders, dominant, number one in their space. Okay. For SaaS, ever heard of a company called Zoho? Zoho Corp. Zoho Corporation is a Chennai-based SaaS vendor. It's a privately held company, and I am a big fan of this company, Zoho. Because it's a private company, it's very difficult to gauge what their exact revenues are. But if I have to go through the industry publications, Zoho Corp is as big as Salesforce plus ServiceNow.
Wow.
It is a massively big company. And yeah, you can look up Zoho. It is one of the serious vendors, serious players when it comes to SaaS market. Coming to the PaaS, again, this is a huge success story. Rarely talked about in India. Not many. They don't get. They are not very tech savvy. They're not very media savvy company. They keep everything under the wraps. Company called Postman. I don't think many of you would have heard about this company, but Postman is a leader when it comes to API development. Until recently, they were Bangalore headquartered. I think only last year they moved to San Francisco. So they're currently headquartered from San Francisco and Bangalore. Between these two places, they operate. Postman is hands down biggest company when it comes to API development and API testing as well. So we have Indian vendors as well, Indian suppliers as well, who are currently dominating the cloud space. And Zoho is a very interesting example. Over the years, almost every major cloud provider tried to acquire this company. Amazon tried to acquire them, Microsoft tried to acquire them, Salesforce tried to acquire them, Google tried to acquire them. Private equity, venture capital firms tried to acquire them. They couldn't, none of them, because it is privately held and is held only by, majorly held by one individual who is a CEO, founder of this company. He refused to sell the company, saying that I will rather keep this company in terms of Indian spirit. So they don't hire from IITs, they don't hire from big engineering colleges. They hire for the skills what an individual brings across. They ignore the qualifications. That's how the Zoho is, and they want to keep the same philosophy. Postman is a cutting-edge technology company. They work on some serious technologies when it comes to API development, and you can look them up. Both of them are a lot of documentation available. A lot of stories are available online. You could read them, understand what they do. But yeah, just want to leave these thoughts that everyone on this call, make a note of these two companies, go research, understand what they do. Their case studies in themselves, they give you a lot of insight in terms of what they do. Okay. That was the quiz time. And now we are moving towards the last part of our presentation, is what are the top suppliers in the market and what opportunities can you get? As I said, there are more than 100, 120 different cloud companies which are there in the market. But for our purpose of discussion, I'm only going to cover 5 of them, which will be Amazon, Microsoft, Google, ServiceNow, and Oracle. These are the 5 companies which I will cover. There are others like Salesforce, IBM, SAP, Workday. There are other companies which are also there among the top 10 cloud vendors, but I will restrict myself to only these. Amazon, no brainer, one of the pioneers, one of the first companies to come up with a commercial public cloud offering. General purpose and highly, highly reliable company. Their products offerings are state of the art, highly scalable, easy to use, very intuitive. They got some very exhaustive and broad range of offerings across the infrastructure as a service and platform as a service. Maximum number of job opportunities among all the cloud vendors right now, or with Amazon. Literally, I mean, Amazon services can be really, really exhaustive. They can be not only exhaustive, but can be very complex as well. So Amazon is a go-to cloud vendor, in my opinion, right now from a career standpoint, from a job standpoint. They also are coming up with quite a few emerging technologies like Amazon Lambda, for example, which is their serverless computing. And they also have very strong proprietary offerings in platform as a service like Redshift and DynamoDB. Those are some of them. So Amazon is hands down, that's what it is. So if you are looking for a career in infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, either as a developer or as an operations person, Amazon is where to go. Right. Azure, Microsoft Azure, current trend indicates that Azure is actually growing faster than AWS. At least in my experience, I can tell that Azure is everywhere. Some of the accounts which I thought will never use Azure, they have replaced Amazon in certain cases because of their huge investments which Microsoft has done in last few years. And one of their biggest investments was in their Hyderabad Development Center. It's a huge cloud development center where they have invested a very significant investment. And one of the reasons why Microsoft is actually is growing faster than Amazon, Microsoft is growing faster than Amazon, is they got offerings in B2C, business to customer, which is your MS Office, SharePoint, Teams, those kind of products, which are consumer-centric products, AWS does not have, but Microsoft does. So that also increases their revenue overall footprint. So, which means that Azure actually gives a very good option, almost on par with AWS, in terms of developer and operation roles. Those are the 2 roles. If you're looking from a career standpoint, Azure is definitely there competing for every dollar, for every penny out there with AWS. Especially Microsoft is very, very suitable. Azure, if you want to make a career in .NET, Power BI, SQL Server, those kind of technologies, if you're looking at, Azure is definitely a place to be in. Okay. Google Cloud, late entrant, came much, much later than both AWS and Microsoft, but they already made it big. And in data space, Google Cloud Storage and Google BigQuery are probably as good as service offerings along with AWS and Azure. In some cases, Google BigQuery is actually bigger than these two. because Google BigQuery is based on serverless computing and it's elastic cloud. So data space, Google is very attractive service offering, a very attractive cloud offering when it comes to data, especially for data engineers. You cannot miss Google Cloud. Try and gain as much as knowledge of Google BigQuery and the GCS. Also, Google has very strong independent software vendors. That means that Google partners, such as Fivetran, right? They bring in, and DBT, they bring in a lot of complementary technologies to Google. For example, DBT is an ETL vendor. Google itself does not have an ETL engine, but DBT complements that. And they are very, very strong offerings, unlike the AWS and Azure. So I have personally seen a major enterprise project being deployed on the Google, and it's working absolutely fantastic. So data engineers wanting to make career there, data engineering, anything data, Google is the one, right? And that's what I would say about Google. It's a very good. Apart from this, Google in itself is not a bad option when you're looking at the infrastructure as a service, right? The Kubernetes, for example, which is a containerization, is pioneered by the Google. They were it was the company which launched it. Now the Kubernetes is managed independently outside the Google, but containerization, when the containers came in, Google was one of the first companies to innovate in that space. So they got good offerings in infrastructure as a service as well. ServiceNow has come into the limelight in last 2 years. Their offerings are extremely good, very, very versatile, flexible and scalable options. They have a platform called Now. Now platform is a platform which is used for automating any application. It's an application automation platform. So the underlying workflows, underlying microservices, APIs, anything to do with the application, they can leverage ServiceNow to build that and deploy it. So ServiceNow has suddenly come into prominence in last 2 years. Not only that, it's a very attractive proposition for developers. So developers who are currently working on AWS or Azure or any of the even on-premise applications, for them, this is a good option to look at, because Now platform is a quite flexible and it is scalable platform. And it's very clever engineering, to be honest. The kind of engineering what they provide in their platform and how you can deploy it. They got multiple use cases. And they have recently, in last 2 years, they expanded the Now platform to include functional areas, right? Like the ServiceNow is known for automating service-based applications. That service-based application, they expanded the footprint now. So IT service management, customer service management, field service management, human resource service management, anything to do with the service aspect of a function, these guys are focusing on that and pioneering. And the main differentiator for ServiceNow, why it is so attractive is, unlike the three major platform vendors, which is AWS, Google, and Microsoft, ServiceNow actually doesn't acquire any companies. They haven't acquired any single company, any of their rivals, right from their existence. Instead, what they have done is they have focused on their internal R&D. So their major differentiator is their ability to invest in R&D and build their own products instead of cutting corners and going and acquiring the competition and trying to integrate the competitive products into them. They don't do that. So which means that their products are highly stable, highly manageable kind of products, what they have. So that's another attractive proposition for ServiceNow, right? I can talk about it more. Please make note of any questions you have on this. Yeah, so last but not the least, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, very, very late to cloud party. They're almost 7-8 years late to the cloud party, which is like basically 2 generations behind. 2 generations behind AWS, Google, and Microsoft. But it is also the fastest growing cloud vendor. They got very compelling product offerings, especially in the database place. Oracle is known for database, known for analytics, known for their enterprise reporting. And those are the products are currently available on the cloud, on the SaaS-based and PaaS-based offerings. any data engineer, any data professionals, or anybody wanting to make a career in data side, please look at Oracle. They are growing pretty rapidly. And just to give you examples, in last 3 years, they won some marquee accounts. Like, for example, TikTok is on Oracle. Uber is on the Oracle. So these are the fairly large applications, right? Uber is number one in the transportation business, and TikTok is the largest social media platform. All of them are using Oracle at the moment. Even the Salesforce, for that matter, which is the world's largest SaaS vendor, their underlying database is on Oracle. So Oracle is growing really fast. And their second part of their offerings, which is the Oracle applications, their ERP, their HR systems, supply chain, sales and distribution, Oracle applications are currently, again, fully migrated, available on cloud. So that becomes the SaaS offering. Oracle SaaS is also fastest growing segment in the market. So anybody coming in from those functional areas, coming from ERP, HRA, supply chain kind of background, they could look at Oracle applications. And as I said, one of the earlier in the presentation, I talked about specialized role, where I talked about the industry SME. So anybody who's wanting to become industry SME, industry cloud, you could look at Oracle as well. Oracle got pretty significant and solid offerings in that space, and they are competing pretty heavily with the rest of the market, and they are making their inroads. So I would say that this is my personal favorite at the moment. Oracle, I'm betting on Oracle long term. They could become a top 2 or 3 vendors in next 5 to 7 years time frame. That's my understanding. That's where I think Oracle is going. So these are the 5 predominant vendors from a career standpoint you should be looking at, where you can make your careers. So with this, I think I'm done with the presentation, and it is time for Q&A. So any questions, put it in the chat or send it to me or direct it to me. I can answer them as
I will read those questions, Prashant, for you. And amazing, correct? So such an in-depth understanding and knowledge of it. So I have a couple of questions already popping in. The first question from Saif is, how can somebody from 15 years of experience moved into cloud?
Moves into cloud. Okay. 15 years of what experience? Business side experience, IT experience? So
Saif, could you be specific what experience it is? Quality.
Quality. All right. Okay. Quality. Okay. It's I'm assuming when you say quality, this is on the manufacturing side type of quality. Is that correct?
No, it's automation. Automation on the AWS cloud, mostly on the AWS services.
Oh, okay. So there are no, straightforward answers to this, right? It depends on what you're looking at. Now, the testing, if you're coming from the quality side, within the cloud itself, there are proprietary tools. Of course, they are not like an independent tools like HP's load runner, those kind of tools, but there are specific custom tools meant for their own applications. So I would rather focus on the operation side of it, Safez. So I would probably look at starting with something like Cloud Practitioner. If you know what it is on the Amazon, start from there. I would say that that's the best way to start from there. So what it does is, the Cloud Practitioner on the Amazon, what it does is it will give you a perspective. It will open up multiple paths, saying that what paths are available for you, where you can actually go. So that would be the first step. So when you do AWS Cloud Practitioner path, the learning path, it will give you enough ammunition and enough ideas in terms of what you can choose and what might be the most suitable career path for you. Is it okay?
Excellent. Thank you so much. And okay, so I think Saif, we already have your questions answered. Let us know if you have any follow-up questions. I can go back and ask another question here. which country has the most demand for cloud engineers?
Hands down, it is United States of America, USA, of course.
Excellent.
That is where the maximum number of cloud opportunities are there. But having said that, we also need to understand that today's business is a global business. Nobody can survive in one particular market or one particular geography. Talent doesn't stay in one single country. The talent is global. If I am not getting an opportunity in this country, I will probably go to another country to find an opportunity. If another country doesn't give me an opportunity, I'll go to somewhere else. So that is how the IT talent is. So right now, there is a scarcity. There's a scarcity of cloud engineers in India itself. So if you look at places like Hyderabad, Bangalore, or even Pune, you will see enough and more advertisements for different types of cloud positions. So
Excellent. Okay.
welcome to Hyderabad, I would say. Hyderabad is a center of excellence. Maximum number of cloud opportunities, you'll get it here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prashant. And the other question from Naushad, you have your hands up. Do you have a question? You can type it in the chat box.
Yeah. I mean, I prefer talking rather than, typing in the chat box. So if you'll allow me, then I would like to talk.
Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. So let me quickly give you a background of myself, and then I'll ask for my career progressions that I have questions. So right now I am working as a manager and typically handling the team of engineers, BizOps engineers, who generally do the CI/CD and deployment of code. But it is more from a monolithic, and sometimes microservices are getting deployed, and we use Chef for doing all those deployments. So Chef Habitat is there. Now, when I see into the market is really rich and moving towards Azure and AWS that you have already talked about. So my question really is that if I want to transition, because I have been stuck into this role for around 5 years as a manager, and prior to that I was into development, Java development. So I was trying to explore what could be my next role. So I did try exploring DevOps and everything, but over here it is more of managing the team. At the same time, the technology is really limited from Chef point of view, and Chef Habitat is being used. We are being provided all those pipelines, and we just implement it in higher environment. So typically this happens, and I'm looking for your insights. What could be my next role, and how should I progress my career? Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Quite a few things there, right? Quite a few moving parts in your question. So no easy answers for this, Naushad. So as I think, one thing is possibly you could expand your horizon in terms of understanding things like Kubernetes on the Google. That is one space which is quite hot right now. Not many engineers available on Kubernetes. That is one. And number two is look beyond the CI/CD in itself. See, CI/CD is what? Essentially, you're packaging an application, right? And you're packaging the whole underlying API libraries and everything, and you're putting it. Yeah, microservices could be there, but you're essentially containerizing and deploying it. So that is the deployment methodology, what you're looking at. Deployment methodology in itself, right now, yes, agreed, it is pretty hot. That is a skill set which everybody is asking for. But will that skill live forever, and will that lead to any better career?
Yeah, so that's what my question is.
So I would say that this is a passing cloud, right? Until something a better option is figured out, this is something which will remain. So what happens if the next technology change happens and you are stuck with this skill set? So I would say that this is not a place to stay in. You're absolutely right that you should move away from what you're doing currently. Unfortunately, there are only two things which I could think. One, you take up an individual contributor role, which is again get back to understanding what other methodologies available in terms of CI/CD. Amazon is the best option, I would say. Safer because you got the maximum number of opportunities there. Specialized will be Google, which is Kubernetes, which is quite a I would say a significant and comprehensive offering, but Amazon gives you what do you call a safety in numbers. The number of options which are there in Amazon space is relatively safe given the number of options. So, which means that there would be somebody who's going to bet on you, Naushad, saying that, okay, Naushad comes with this kind of experience. He may not be an expert in Amazon, but he does have this domain. So somebody might make that bet. Might not be applicable in Kubernetes because it's become slightly more specialized. And
So I have a bit of confusion around the way forward. So I come from, I have a background into development.
I lost you, Naushad. Is it me or?
No, I think it is Naushad.
Okay.
His video seems to have got stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
So-
just give him 10 seconds. If he's not back, then probably we'll move on to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, sure. Then I think we will get on to somebody else. What would you suggest a fresher if he wants to make career in cloud and start a new position?
What would you suggest a fresher if he wants to make his career? Start with Amazon. As I said, Amazon is safety in numbers. The number of opportunities currently available are pretty wide. Start with the cloud practitioner, Syed. That's a certification you should be looking at, the learning path, what you should look at. From there, you can choose the different career path which suits you. You could either go into the operation side, data engineer side, or the developer side, or whichever side you may be. So start with cloud practitioner on AWS. That's my suggestion.
Excellent. Thank you so much. There's another question. What are the preparation strategies or learning need to go
to cloud architecture role? Okay. Imbesat Anwar. Okay. Imbesat. Apologies if I'm getting your name wrong. Imbesat, so preparation strategy, learning. I would probably say one thing. And cloud architect role is like a leadership kind of a role. So cloud architect is no different from a senior manager working in a bank or, an IAS officer working in government. It is very similar. So what does it mean? What it means is you need to have good leadership skills. You should have good communication skills. So for example, if I say something, like, for example, if I say that, A equals B, if I say something like that, that particular thing needs to be acceptable to the people who are listening to that. And why should anybody listen to me? Which means that I should be able to articulate and I should be able to present what I'm saying in a way that other people are understanding. So first thing is, you cannot ignore the communication skills part of it. That's the first part for any cloud architect role, number one. Number two is the self-learning. Self-learning is extremely important aspect for any cloud architect. The more you can learn on your own without depending on anything, like for example, depending on online resources like Udemy is one aspect of it. But how much can you actually read, imbibe, understand, and then you can reproduce it on the paper is something which really differentiates. So internet is rich in articles, rich in content. You can get any kind of content anywhere. So I would say that make it a habit. Make it a habit that you read, dedicate some amount of time every day. For example, I don't miss reading newspaper even today. That's something which my dad has taught me when I was in class 4. Even today, when I wake up, I take my cup of chai, sit in front of the net, and I actually read through at least 10 different news websites before I begin my day. Now, what it does is I not only cover the current affairs, but also the business affairs and the technological affairs which are happening. One thing leads to other. Say, for example, there's an article which says that Uber is making a $300 million investment in Hyderabad. That's the news article which is there. That can lead to inquisitiveness, curiosity, saying that why are they investing in Hyderabad and what for? What is the idea behind investing so much of money? Then you'll realize that, oh, they're trying to build their own mapping solution. They want to move away from Google Maps. So which means that you will start looking, okay, then what kind of jobs are they offering? What skill set are they going to hire then? So you just started with one news headline, then it led to 3 other articles being read. Finally, you understood what actually that headline means. I think that is a very important skill set, in a sense.
Yeah.
So-
Thank you so much. I got a lot from you. Yeah.
Okay, so next.
Next question, Garrett. AWS Associate Architecture, how to hunt a job in the domain? Because right now they are saying the market is very low.
This is only temporary. This is only a temporary correction which is happening in the market. Now, what has happened is during the COVID times, there was a fear factor among the tech companies saying that we might lose resources, right? At the moment they made everybody work from home, the fear factor was, okay, I can't control somebody who's working from the remote location. Me as a manager, I don't know how to control them. I don't even know whether they will listen to me, right? That was a fear factor. So what they did is, instead of having 10 members in the team, they hired 20 people, saying that, okay, if 10 people are not working, at least another 10 will start working. That was a logic. It's not a great logic, but that was a logic which was used. COVID is over. Market is back to the normalcy. What would you do with the excess engineers you have? People are back in the offices. So you laid off those 10 people whom you hired. So right now, that is what is happening. It is only a temporary thing. I would say that it will not last more than another, maybe 1 or 2 quarters. I think by end of this year, starting new year, I think market should be back to the normalcy. You will start seeing the hiring being back again.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Okay. And there's another question, correct, which I'm a fresher 7 months into the company, got trained on VMware, vSphere, and getting trained on Azure now. Give me a roadmap to become an architect from scratch.
So Danish, I think Danish Ahmed.
Correct.
So yeah, so architect, there are 2 parts to architect on the solution architect side. One is the technology architect specific to that particular technology. So whatever solutions you design only based on that specific technology. That is one. And there's a general purpose solution architect, which is me. I'm a general purpose guy. I can do any technology basically. So if you are doing VMware, vSphere, which is a pretty good virtualization technology, to be honest, and if you're getting trained on the Azure, which means you're moving more towards the infrastructure side, infrastructure as a service, this is not good enough for you to become an architect, because most of the times what will happen is infrastructure as a service is a very, very standardized offering. There is not much of architectural work which happens on the infrastructure as a service. It is what do you call it as a sizing in the old world. In the old IT world, we call it as sizing. So if somebody gives you a spec saying that this is my workload, and I need this workload to be provisioned on particular hardware or the infrastructure, straight away they will say that, okay, you need this much of these many VMs, these many processors, blah, 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 straightforward, over. So although it is an architectural type of role, but sizing is not really architecture. So which means that you need to pick up more on the middleware side, integration, things like your APIs, so anything to do with the application, then application related ones, which you need to pick up. For example, if you are going to provision Linux along with Java on that, what would be the workload? How much of the workload is going to be deployed on that? So you need to understand Java then you need to understand different flavors of Linux, then what Linuxes are available, Sushi Linux versus Red Hat Linux versus whatever else is available. So I would say that start looking at the platform as a service offerings along with the Azure. I'm hoping that you're looking at hypervisor. Am I right in saying that, Danish? Azure hypervisor? Is that what you're getting trained on? That would be the quite similar to vSphere, right?
Yes.
But anyway, yeah. So yeah, then I would say that focus on the PaaS offerings if you want to become an architect.
Sure.
Next one.
Thank you so much for that, answering that. So guys, we have a feedback form also while we continue with our question and answer session. Please do, click on that link and then take feedback. Thank you so much, Abdul Rahim, for putting that up. Guys, any other questions? No, I have this question with you. I will not ask technical question, Prashant, but I will ask, how has been your career journey, correct? Somebody who's generally, a lot of us gave up because we didn't have an engineering degree to go back and pick up something on IT side. So how has been your journey and what is it that you did to be successful in your career?
Yeah, so I would. So I'm not the only individual out there who has come with this kind of limitation in terms of not having the right academic credentials to progress in IT world. Given that I come from a commerce background and I did my MBA finance, I think the thing which really I focused on is me being extremely humble person, and I was always willing to learn. Learning curve is something which I still consider as one of my key strengths. That has been my strength. I am a pretty voracious reader. I read quite a lot of stuff, and what it did is by reading, and when I say reading, it is not something you read only something which is of your interest. For example, somebody like novels, for example, and if somebody claims that I spend 3 hours of reading novels every day, that is not reading. Reading actually means that you read something which is not of your interest as well, which is very difficult subject. So somebody coming from non-techie background and somebody was presented saying that, can you make a presentation on Kubernetes or containerization? Because this is a problem what we are facing. It becomes extremely difficult for a person like me to read through the documentation, understand what it is, and then reproduce. And I think I took that particular aspect very seriously in my career, saying that do not ignore self-learning, do not ignore self-improvement. This is something which you have to invest on yourself more than anybody else investing on you. Now, when you start doing that, when you start investing in oneself in terms of spending quality time, in terms of reading, educating oneself, and being humble, it also presents the opportunities which are completely unknown or which you wouldn't have planned for. So I got an opportunity once where I got trained in accent neutralization speaking, because I had a big tour. I went to US for about 8 weeks, starting of my career. Before I went to US for 8 weeks, one of my managers said that, well, your accent is very, very specific. You sound like an Indian. I don't want you to sound like an Indian. Can you take up a 4 weeks accent neutralization course? I never planned for it, right? I never thought in my life that I would get something like that. But why an opportunity like that got presented to me was I showed that eagerness that I can learn. And when I demonstrated that I can learn something and I can move ahead, my manager felt confident that, well, this guy's learning curve is high. He's able to pick up things fast. So why don't I actually give him a training which actually can make him even better? That was a game changer for me, to be very honest. One of the biggest game changers in my life is actually not technology, but that communication training which I undertook. That accent neutralization, the trainer came from US and is a world-renowned trainer. I was in Oracle at that point of time. They spent pretty huge amount of money to bring the trainer, and I got trained. That really opened up a lot of things in my life. Right from the cultural aspects, why somebody says often and often to why American says often to why Europeans say often, that cultural differences and stuff like that gives you perspective. So I would say that key success or the key aspect in my professional journey is self-learning and being humble. These are the two very, very important aspects of what I had, and everything else was like a puzzle which, fallen in place. Things like getting communications training, then getting help in terms of me clearing the industry certifications. I have like 4 different industry certifications.
Wow.
Salesforce platform developer certified, which means I can do the proper low, high level programming in Salesforce. It's similar to Java, Apex programming. I can do Java programming and do database programming. So all of them, I got help. I always had this approach where I raise my hands saying that, hands up, I can't do this. Can you please help? I always had this attitude, and I always had this aptitude of approaching people and seeking help. Saying that, boss, I don't know this. I'm absolutely zero in this. Can you please help? I will buy you a tea. I'll take you for dinner. I will take you to the movie. Do whatever, but I need your help. Can you please help me? I always did this. And that is because I was always humble. I didn't have any problems approaching anybody in my life. I could have approached even a fresher, my fellow colleague, and saying that, can you help? And this is something, again, it's a very important skill, interpersonal people management skill, which is required. You should not be shy to approach anybody in life. However that person is, however that person treats you, doesn't really matter. If it means that you're going to improve, if you are going to change for better, you should take help. And I think most people miss on this point, saying that, I want to achieve success, I'll achieve it on my own. Doesn't happen like that. We are living in a digital economy, digital world. Everybody knows everybody. It's easy to track everyone. So take help of everyone wherever you possible. I think these are some of the things which I would like to share, saying that which helped me in my career, from where I am, where I started in Hyderabad to where I am right now in London. So it's been helpful all the way.
Absolutely correct. No doubt they say correct. Emotional intelligence and your soft skills play a lot more in your career, and not just the hard skill. Hard skills are bread and butter, but for you to move up the ladder and gel among and build those strong teams and take organizations forward, because people are looking at these kind of skill sets, correct? How can you?
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, I think some of these guys might have missed the earlier part of the presentation which you gave. IQ, the intelligent quotient, is only probably 5% of the skill set what organizations are looking for. 95% is your emotional quotient and the social quotient. If you can't emotionally handle the situation in a matured manner, in a very humble manner, and ensure that there is no conflict happening, no bad bloods are spilled and stuff like that. If you can't do that, no matter how world-class, a great programmer or developer you are, you're not going to last in that role at all. And as I said, in the cloud world, it is very, very intense. More intense it becomes, more mature one needs to be, more emotionally stable one needs to be.
Absolutely.
And it becomes a life skill, right? It's not just you're not doing your job better. By having a very good emotional intelligence, it also helps your family members, your friends, your acquaintances, your neighbors, your everyday life, whom you deal with. So we cannot really separate out the professional skills with your personal skills. Both are interdependent and they take you everywhere where you are.
Absolutely. They refine you as a person. And that's what we try covering in Elevate Your Career program that we are running in PSF. And we've covered, that's what I said.
That's a very good thing. Yeah, that's a very good thing, Arif. In fact, I think, most engineers who pass out from their BTechs today, or MCAs and the IT related stuff, it's pity that they don't actually invest time on their self-improvement and the self-development. And that self-development goes in a long way. It's funny that one of the things which you spoke about today is that power dressing, right?
Yes.
At the power dressing, it's funny because I still remember this quite vividly. It was year 2010, and I just joined one of the big Microsoft-based independent software vendors. And I was, at that time, I was given the responsibility to cover Europe, UK and the rest of the Europe from a pre-sales and sales stand. There was no dedicated sales executive. So they asked me to cover as a sales executive until they appoint someone. When I got joined into that particular role, there was one big client who was coming over from Italy to Bangalore to do the due diligence of our facilities and everything. And until that point, I did not actually focus on what my developer team looks like and what they. When I saw people were wearing t-shirts, they're wearing jeans, nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's all fine. But You want to really come across as a power dressing? I did 2-hour session to my team, how to dress. People were shocked, saying that, oh, can you do this? I said, yeah, you can never wear a printed tie on a printed shirt. It has to be a plain shirt with a printed tie or other way around. They are like, oh, really? Is that how it is? I said, yeah. This makes a bloody big difference the way you communicate. You are creating an impression, man. Come on. So these
Absolutely.
skills, unfortunately, engineers don't do this, but yeah, it makes a lot of difference. How you dress and how you come across, what you speak. At least spend some time on topics which will be useful with the your customers. For example, when I went to the, again, this is one of the trips to US. It was a Gartner Financial Services outsourcing conference where I went and represented Canbay at that time, a big company. And purposely, my manager, it was a big company, so they had a lot of bargaining power with the travel agent because a lot of executives travel up and down the US. So using his jugad, he got me a business class, saying that, okay, you are going to travel in business class. Now, the reason why you're going to go in business class is check out the menu, liquor menu, find out how many types of wine is there. And when you land in the outsourcing conference, you should be able to discuss which wine comes from where. Because all the executives whom you're going to meet are at VP IT and a CIO level. Nobody's less than that, which means that average age of those executives is 47 to 55. Guys coming with more than 25, 30 years of experience. So they are not small people. They're quite big and experienced. I had to learn how many wines are actually there. White wines are there, red wines are there. I had to buy heard what is the French wine different from Spanish wine. I had to do all that. So these are the soft skills, right? This is a learning curve. May not be applicable for everyone in every situation, but these examples I'm giving because don't leave an opportunity to learn anything. Have an absolute open mind. I mean, it could be anything. It could be how a particular bread is made in Italy versus India. It could be any kind of, non-trivial, trivial topic. But as long as you're reading and keeping up your gray cells, I think it helps you as a developer, helps you as an IT professional, helps you as an individual as well. If I'm not wrong, in your personal life, it will help. So,
Sure. Thank you so much.
These would
Yeah.
be the So if there are no more questions, then over to you, Arif.
If you don't have any more questions, we've already sent the feedback form in the WhatsApp group that you are part of. Please go back and take the feedback in that group. Also follow Prashant because he's an amazing person today. The energy, the vibes, everything comes along correct. And thank you so much, Prashant, for taking out time and spending this amazing time enlightening all of us. I took out a lot of things from here from a technology standpoint. And the biggest offering, correct, you can be a great at your technical skills, but you need those soft skills to take your career forward for sure.
Absolutely, 100%.
Sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Take care. Yeah. Take care, everybody. We'll meet you in another session. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, everybody.